Welcome to another episode of the Strategiewerkstatt, our small hitchhiker's guide through strategy. Today with me, with the sun shining, is Felipe. Felipe, in the pre-call, we discussed a bit about evolution on a maybe more traditional company. I'm super curious what you have to tell us today. Who are you and what are you doing?
Marcus, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be in your podcast. I'm very excited to discuss today about our strategical swap.
Me too.
I'm Felipe. I'm Brazilian. Moved to Germany 7 years ago. I'm currently CTO at Jimdo. I oversee engineering, data, security, and ops. And I'm also advisor and board member for some Brazilian companies, always moving through this strategical digital transformation and helping companies before going to the digital era and now getting more connected through AI. Long journey in the industry, more than 25 years experience. And yeah, pretty excited to be here.
So we defined the term evolution and we didn't talk about transformation. What's the difference for you between these two concepts, given your history also with advising the Brazilian companies that you do, not only your work at Jimdo?
Yeah, evolution, I would say it's the normal place of business. So you are not getting super disrupted by something. So the way you are working gets better and better. You are just improving your company, improving your product, getting more connected to the market, expanding. So you're really working. It's the same work, but in a better way, normal pace of business. You can think about evolution as increasing revenue and then expanding in different markets, improving your reachability, getting faster results, working with CDNs or something like that. Disruption is when you need to change the way you do business. So you can keep your business model or not, depending on the way that the disruption comes. But usually you have to change massively the way you work. And you can see that companies have to adapt. Departments needs to be created, other departments needs to be removed, working as it was before. One example of disruption, I would say, it's the internet. So before you were working in a way with local computers and servers, I had my first job. I had to get some long time ago. I had to get the flop disks and connect to the main central computer after my day of work. So I was running with the car and getting the data from my customers, which it's crazy to think about it now.
Cool.
So the internet disrupted the way solution would be mobile phones, for example, when you had to not think about mobile first design or mobile first applications. And now after mobile, after iPhone, after this evolution, you had to start changing the way to do business. Same use case, but different channel.
Yeah. And we see another disruption happening right now with AI popping up. Maybe the evolution pace is not fast enough for the disruption that's coming, right? I think it's important to be aware that these are two different mechanisms that we have to deal with. We cannot evolve everything. Sometimes we have to disrupt or really transform actively instead of only waiting for the evolution.
Yeah.
Now, when I think back, Jimdo is, I think, 18, 20 years old.
Yes.
I also built Jimdo web pages when I was a little bit younger. And I think you talked about the internet and the internet changed. So at the beginning it was, hey, we create a web page. We are top notch because we have a new web page made by Jimdo. Now with all the tools we have and with also search functions changing, be that Google, be that ChatGPT, the value of a web page is a different one than it was before. So I think this is now hooking into your work at Jimdo. I think this is an evolution that you had to take from, hey, we are only serving a single customer building a web page, to much more. So take us on that journey.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting to see that in the past, when Jimdo started, our product was, you were able to do a bunch of things in your website. So not only create a website, but you were able to customize your color palette, add custom code, really building it together with Jimdo. So Jimdo was a way to build faster websites, but still you were working and you need to get some technical knowledge to get through that. 2015, there was a new product released to the market that we understood that we can do better for our customers if they don't have to actually interact with the product. We can offer the best website. We can offer the best use case for their business. We can understand what they do and create something that will be beautiful, that will be functional, that will attract their customers. And most important, will get them more transactions to their business. Before, it was all about positioning. We want to get our customers online. We want to make them available on the internet. later on, we want to make sure that their customers can transact websites. We can get more revenue, we can bring more customers, we can expand their reachability using our technology. So this is a normal evolution, get more through the way that we work. It's changing everything. So not only allowing customers to get websites, as you said, like you can ask ChatGPT and you can get something. You can use tools, bunch of different tools out there to build applications, and you're going to have a result. Might not be ready to put in production, might not be super secure, but it's there. Customers can use it and they will use it. And then we need to see how we can react to that, because the way they're going to interact is going to be different. Customers, this is my perception, they don't want to have 10,000 different accounts in different services like we do have right now.
True.
So I want to watch a movie. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Netflix, Disney Plus, or whatever streaming service that we use. I'm going to get my result based on what I want to see. And AI knows what I want to see because AI knows me. It's here yet, but this is something that we can see through this disruption way. But the way we position the company, and that's why it's super important, as you said, the pace is a bit different. I cannot fully go on what is new and forget about everything that is running, because I need to keep the evolution going. At some point, people are going to do the swap, so they're going to move to the new world, but there's a time frame that they're going to have both ways still working. As a stabilized company, I need to make sure I connect the two. And that's also why a lot of startups, they have advantage in these new eras when disruptions are coming. Because they don't need the burden. They don't have the legacy. They don't have the burden of keeping things alive. They can fail fast. They can try again. They can get more funding. We have a responsibility to our customers, and we have a responsibility to keep our services evolving, up and running, and serving them well. So it's two journeys that we need to do inside one, which is like, it's exciting, it's nice, but it's challenging. And that's why also in these times, it's when a lot of companies, they change position. I like to say money change hands whenever disruption comes. And it's when like smaller companies can get better positions, bigger companies can fail, because it's hard. Like you can't keep up. A lot of people say how they haven't seen that before. Oh, they were disrupted. Yeah, they need to keep stuff going while innovating. And that's very challenging. Ways to do, of course, but it's very challenging.
So you talked about the challenges. What challenges do you see most? You've been talking about that balance where one part of the organization still works with we call it the legacy, but that's not meant to downgrade it, but that's like the actual product. And part of the organization would be more working in, you said startup manner, more experimenting, able to fail. So what challenges do you face in that balance between evolution and disruption?
Yeah, there's a lot, but let's start with cultural first. When you have a company that is stabilized and we are evolving, you're always targeting for business excellence. You need to go through operational excellence. You're going to get a flywheel. You're going to have things up and running. It's going to be smooth. You have all the solutions in place to allow you to release software without getting incidents, without breaking stuff. Super controlled environment, because you do have a lot of customers that you need to respect. The startup is the other way around. So again, like break things fast, learn fast, make changes, pivot. It's very hard to pivot a stable business. So the mindset from the two people that are working on this transformation are different, but it's the same company. So the challenge is how you can make things work in this environment. The other important thing is, of course, like for some people, it's much more exciting to work in what's new. And it was more exciting than to be working on the stabilized stuff. Like people who like more this calmness and understand the environment. And you need to have a mix of them. And both are important in both ways, because these innovative people, they're also the ones involved in the company. So the distribution of work that you place and where they're going to be allocated, the positioning, the strategical path, the discussions inside executive groups, all of that is super challenging, because you're really dealing with two different landscapes in the same time. And you need both to move. So I would say cultural is the first and foremost challenging that you need to overcome.
This is, you said like quite some super interesting things. I'm now reminded back of my time in Operation Excellence, building the whole production system. And one of the elements that we clearly needed to get this flywheel, as you said, running and flying, was that you really know where the expertise in your company is, what expertise you need in order to build up. So this goes into training plans and so on, or knowledge matrix, whatever you might call that. But now all of a sudden, you cannot use your normal skill matrix anymore. You have to build like a second one, which is complementary to the first. So the it sounds like a bureaucratic nightmare to like being able to challenge both and then even making sure that people can transition. So what, apart from being the coach, what role does leadership play in this like super balance that you try to create?
I think the establishing a clear vision is super important, and people need to understand where we are going. They really need to get everything that we're going to work together and how we're going to get there. So having a proper company vision, a proper company strategy, what are the steps that we're going to execute through our vision and why we are doing that. A lot of literature in the industry talking about starting with why, and it's true. Sense their role in this place, it's easier for them to grasp the old stuff back, and they are having fun and they are laughing and they are smiling because they are the team that is disrupting, but it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Both are required. Sometimes you're great in your skill set of keeping the software and keeping out of incidents and then work on platformization. You're really good on this topic and we need it. But of course, like the innovation, the new thing, it's always more exciting for people. They're going to celebrate more. They're going to smile more. I like to say like we improved a lot of availability in the last year.
Yeah.
And whenever you say this, it's amazing. On engineering level, like it's fantastic work. But when you share this on the broader organization, it's, oh, well done.
Well done.
But when you release a new software, when you release new business cases, whoa, that's so cool. That's so
many
nice.
Likes, many comments on the platforms. Yeah.
A lot. So like, it's really on you as a leader to go and explain, hey, this is happening. That's what we are trying to do. These are the things that we are trying to validate. That's why we need to be also to fail fast there. And we need to find a way to also allow things to break without breaking system. So if you're experimenting something new, we need to find ways to get literally for you to keep moving. And so this on the leadership is to really make sure that you are transparent on what is happening, and also make sure that you are transparent when the experiments are failing and what are we doing to pivot. Because people can also say, oh, but they're just working something and doesn't work, and that's okay. Yeah, it's okay there, but that's what we're going to do now to try to improve.
Yeah.
People need to know, and that sometimes is neglected. They just like this is an innovation hub. Everything needs to be innovation in the business, and people need to see the role they are playing to support this innovation moving forward.
So let's make a link into strategy, because it's called Strategiewerkstatt. So we have to talk a little bit about strategy. But I think we do already, because you said starting with why, communicating, knowing what the vision is, these are like core elements of strategy. What I'm now interested in is evolution of a stable business while doing innovation. And that has to fit into some way of a strategic framework. Like there are goals for the operations part and there are goals for the innovation part. How do you coordinate this wide variety of topics across your area?
It's a very good question. And I think just also getting a bit back on the way that we set a strategy. It's a very sensitive and difficult topic, and there's a lot of rights and wrongs and ways to do it. The way I see it and the way I like to work with my teams is I always have a vision document where we are moving through. So for example, in my case, on the technology department, I want to be simple and I want to be cost efficient. So that's my target.
Two like easy statements.
Everything I do, everything I work on is to get our company simpler and cost efficient. I need to have this mindset in the back of the mind of my leaders, my engineers, and everyone. The strategy is how I'm going to get there. So I usually write some steps. I like to work in a 2 to 3 years strategical document. It's not easy to write because it needs to be short. It needs to be straightforward.
Yeah.
And whenever a disruption like AI comes to the table, it needs to change everything, because then you got to think. But usually you should not change your strategy all the time. It's not a living document that you change every day. It should be focused on the long journey. So I write down the most important things that we need to do to get to the vision that I have. And then I balance this with my product and company vision and strategy. So I know what I have to implement. I know what is more important to implement. And we choose every quarter what we are going to be able to achieve. And I give this as a goal to the teams. Every team, they have the company vision. They understand what strategy they need to follow, the product and engineering or technology. And then we can balance. So some teams in that quarter are going to be more required for the innovation piece. And they are not going to be super focused on my technology goals, but they have in mind that everything they do, no matter where, it's simpler and it's cost efficient. So they're never going to sign a contract or implement a service or make something that will make us hard or complex or spend more money, because they have this mindset. And people who are working on the technology perspective, they're removing components, simplifying, negotiating with vendors. So they have this on their DNA. Why super challenging? As I said, like when we are innovating, it's very difficult to keep simple and to be cost efficient. It's extremely hard because innovation comes through experimentation. It's to try out tools. I need to work it out. I need to evaluate. I need to work in different cases. I need to work in different tech stacks. That's where the challenge comes through. And the way that I work is I need to be super present and have teams that are working cross issue segments. And I need to be close with them and explain why we're doing what you're doing and how to prepare the guardrails so they can innovate. But the overall strategy is that vision, and then you can break down the items and decide every quarter what is more important to do on the 3 streams.
Just one metric. What's the metric that you use to realize, yes, we are reaching the target of being simple and cost efficient?
One example for our simplification would be the number of services that we have deployed. We run on a microservices architecture, so there are ways of simplifying and not having a bunch of services not required. So really cleaning up is something super important. For the cost efficient, can be cloud expenses, it can be the number of how much the ingress traffic cost us. So the architecture decisions that can influence on how much money we spend on COGS, for example. There are more, but these are two KPIs that you're always looking at.
Even those two are balanced at each other, right? You still need to be fast and deliver to the customer, but at the same time, you need to be cost efficient. So I think there's what I found always that balance, that you should not go one direction only. You should always make sure that you have one KPI that's balanced with another. So if you push one up, the other goes down, which like ensures that you are like reaching the right level on both.
Yeah, that's why it's super important in tech companies that product engineering, they are super connected.
Yeah.
Because we need to speak the same language and we need to understand each other. Sometimes you're going to work more on the product level. Sometimes you're going to work more on improving. And as we have different teams, it's possible to also balance. So we can choose the battles properly, what's going to bring, and then again, the company strategy, what will bring us to the strategy company outcome. Yeah.
Cool. Felipe, thank you very much for the discussion. I learned that it's possible to do evolution and disruption at the same time, but that it needs a leader that is willing to step into a coaching role and stretch himself in both directions in order to keep it simple and cost efficient. Thank you very much for that, for the great discussion. I wish you a lot of sun coming up for the vitamin D levels. And all the best. Perfect. Thank you for answering all the nasty questions I gave you.
Perfect. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And it was really a good discussion.
Thank you very much.
Anytime. Thank you.